if you get tensed, you hear it in the voice. We don't want to hear this inside the clarinet. We want to hear a relaxed voice inside the clarinet. We need a speedy air. Create the speedy air not by biting, not by pushing, but only raising the tongue up. I would like to talk to you today about tongue position while playing the clarinet. This is a thought that Charlie Neidig many, many years ago set into my head. I don't quite know if I understood what he meant way back then, but since then I've been working on understanding the concept of a tongue position inside our mouths while playing the clarinet. And I use it all the time, especially to solve problems that I encounter while practicing pieces. Sometimes being aware of your tongue position can help you understand how to create a better legato, a better sound, a better intonation, a different color. The tongue position is comparable for me with a garden hose. When you have a large garden and you try to water your plants, you turn on the water, and if you have a very normal old-fashioned hose, the water lands directly by your feet. Your hand is only that long, so you can only water the plants that are near to you. And the water is constantly falling down in front of the hose. In order to reach plants that are further away with a spray effect, you use your thumb to close this hose a bit and have the water spritz off into the further plants behind them. You create a smaller hole for the same amount of water to go through, and that hole, which is smaller, has more pressure behind it, and the water just jumps further away. This effect also can be done with your tongue in your mouth. The effect is basically rising the tongue up. Instead of going ho, you go like saying a German SCH. The most important thing, though, is not moving your lower jaw while picking your tongue up. So if we are thinking of going oh in a clarinet, we go oh, almost like saying an E, but only with the tongue, not with your mouth. The effect which you hear is different on different notes. Some notes you can hear immediately that the tongue has been moving, others it doesn't make a difference. I try to find one where you can hear it. The difference is the velocity of the air, and it also changes the intonation, moves the intonation a little bit higher, but it also creates a different concentration of the air inside the clarinet. I encountered this problem, especially trying to play the second movement of Mozart Clarinet's concerto on a normal A clarinet. The high notes tend to have an undertone to them. It's almost a multiphonic. Sometimes if you're not aware of your tongue position, you would get undertones in that register. We start comfortably on a low C, and while going up, we have problems maintaining the velocity of the air, which creates an undertone in the clarinet. And if we concentrate on keeping our tongue high enough within the clarinet, we can get rid of that undertone. This is, of course, not only a tongue position, but it is also a tongue position that helps getting rid of the undertone. So it's basically really just not changing your embouchure at all, but picking your tongue from a low position to a high position, saying E in your mouth instead of saying O in your mouth. Try to move your tongue up and down while you're playing any kind of note and see what happens to it. You should hear it. It almost sounds like me saying o, e inside the clarinet. To see the use of the awareness of your tongue position, I will demonstrate, for instance, what happens to a low tone when we change the tongue position in the mouth. And again, I am not changing my lower embouchure. This is very important to say. This is another possibility for intonation, biting or letting go of the reed. But I'm trying now to only change my tongue position and not my lower embouchure. Playing a low F. It does make a big difference in intonation. It also makes a big difference in the color. Sometimes pushing your tongue up creates a sound that you don't want to have. So sometimes you have to be aware of how far you go with the tongue. Not really all the way up in your mouth, but still don't leave it hanging there, which creates a very low intonation. It's a big difference. I would recommend to you to try to move your tongue up and down within your embouchure, within your mouth, without changing your embouchure, and see how you create a new tool to control intonation. If you bite, the sound difference is much stronger. We really, really hear the bite. But if you move your tongue up, the sound is not as round and as beautiful. Of course, an E is not as beautiful as an O. But still, if intonation is a problem, you need to fix the intonation. So maybe cutting off the beauty of the sound a bit, but creating correct intonation is a good thing to have. You're losing some, but winning much. Compared again to the biting, I really do feel that moving your tongue up is a much better solution for low note intonation. Another thing a tongue position can help with is with the throat tones. I've been showing this on the A clarinet. I'm going to pick up my B flat clarinet for a piece, for instance, like Debussy, to be able to control the sound quality of the beginning of the piece. So for instance, the throat tone problem of the Debussy Rhapsody beginning. We want to be very relaxed with our lower lip in order to create the right intonation, but we don't want the sound to sound tired. So picking the tongue up and putting the embouchure down creates a velocity of air inside the clarinet, which creates a sound that is much more round and more full. Again, I am not changing my lower lip at all. It's really just the position of the sound, of the tongue, going from a ha, which is a very low position, to a e, which is a very high position. Would be too high, would be too airy, would be the combination of a relaxed lower lip and a very high tongue. Not, but try to practice putting your tongue up and your lower embouchure relaxed and saying like E, but only with the air and not with your lips. You hear the difference of the airiness of the sound because the air is much quicker when going through a tongue up in the mouth than having to fill the whole mouth with the same air.